Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into Jim Kwik's Limitless, really digging into how you can upgrade your own brain. The big idea here? That your mind's potential isn't some fixed thing. Nope, it's something you can actively grow and expand.
So do you ever feel like your brain is just under attack? It's a real feeling, right? Well, according to Jim Kwik, it actually is. In our world today, we're up against what he calls digital supervillains. And yeah, they're constantly trying to steal our focus, our energy, even our peace of mind. So think of it like this. On one side, you've got these villains coming at you every day. But here's the cool part. On the other side, you've got these incredible superpowers just lying dormant, waiting for you to tap into them. And that's really the core of Kwik's whole argument, that living a truly exceptional life is all about unlimiting ourselves.
All right, first up is villain number 1, digital deluge. I mean, it's just this constant flood of information, isn't it? Get this. The amount of data we consume in one day is what someone back in the 1400s would have gotten in their entire lifetime. No wonder we feel so stressed out and just mentally drained. That constant barrage, it leads to serious brain fatigue.
And then there's villain number 2, digital distraction. You know what I'm talking about. The constant pings, the buzzes, the notifications. They're not just annoying, they're literally rewiring our brains. Every little buzz gives you a tiny hit of a chemical called dopamine, which trains you to be easily distracted. It just burns through all the mental energy you need for any kind of deep work or real learning. Okay, on to villain number 3, digital dementia. This one's huge. Your memory. It's a muscle, plain and simple. And just like any other muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. We've basically outsourced our memory, phone numbers, birthdays, how to get somewhere, to our phones. And in doing that, we're letting that super important memory muscle just waste away. And the last one, villain number 4, is digital deduction. Think about it. We're swimming in a sea of online opinions, hot takes, and analyses. It's just so easy to let Google or social media or whatever do our thinking for us. And that weakens our own ability to think critically and solve problems. So yeah, when you're up against these 4 big baddies, it can feel like your limits are, well, permanent. But here's the big question. What if they're not? And this is where Jim Kwik's own personal story comes in, and it's powerful. When he was a kid, he had a brain injury that made learning incredibly difficult. And one day a teacher literally pointed at him in class and said those words, "That's the boy with the broken brain." Can you imagine? That label, that single idea of being broken, it defined his entire reality for years. This is what Kwik now calls a lie. And that's an acronym for a limited idea entertained. It's such a brilliant way to frame it. He came to this huge realization that the biggest things holding us back aren't our actual circumstances. It's the false stories we tell ourselves, the limits we've just accepted as truth in our own heads. And that realization completely changed everything for him. It shifted the whole question. The problem wasn't how smart you are. The real question became, how are you smart? See the difference? His brain wasn't broken. The issue is that he, like pretty much all of us, was never actually taught how to learn. And that skill, learning how to learn, is what he calls meta-learning. It's the ultimate superpower. So to help us develop this superpower, he created something called the Limitless model. It's a really straightforward 3-part framework. First, you've got mindset. These are your beliefs, what you think is even possible for you. Next up is motivation. That's your why, your purpose, the fuel that gets you going. And finally, there's the method. This is the how-to, the actual process you use to learn. And what's so crucial to understand is how these 3 things work together. They're totally interconnected, right? I mean, you could have the absolute best method for learning something, but if your mindset is telling you, I'm just not smart enough for this, it's not going to work. Or you could be super motivated, but if you don't have a good method, you're just going to feel frustrated. All 3 have to be firing together to unlock that potential. Okay, so let's make this super practical and look at a specific method you can use. Okay, you want to upgrade your memory, like right now? Here's a super simple but powerful technique you can start using today. To seriously improve your memory, all you have to do is remember your MOM. Okay, so here's what it stands for. The first M is for motivation.
You have to have a strong reason to remember something. Reasons reap results, as they say. The O is for observation. This is key. Most of the time when we forget something, it's not a memory failure, it's an attention failure. We just weren't paying attention in the first place. And that second M is for methods. This means using an actual strategy, because here's the thing. Memory isn't some gift you're born with. It is a skill that you can train. And check this out. This is a perfect example of why these methods are so important. It's called the baker/baker paradox. Studies show it's way easier to remember that a man's job as a baker than it is to remember that his name is Mr. Baker. Why is that? Well, when you hear a baker, your brain instantly creates all these connections. You think of bread, maybe a big white hat, the smell of an oven, but the name Mr. Baker? It's just an abstract fact. It's got nothing to hook onto in your brain. And this all circles right back to the first part of that limitless model, your mindset. Because the science is clear on this. There's this thing called neuroplasticity, which has proven that our brains are not fixed. They're not hardwired. Every single time you learn something new, your brain physically forms new connections. It actually changes. So those limits you think you have, they're not real solid walls. They're just beliefs. And beliefs can be changed. So let's talk about some of these common LIEs, these limited ideas entertained that so many of us believe. How about this one? Intelligence is fixed. Or making a mistake means I failed. Or the big one, genius is something you're born with, not something you can build. Do any of those sound familiar? These ideas create this invisible ceiling over our heads, but the best part is they are just ideas. And they can absolutely be unlearned. This leads to one of my favorite quotes from the book. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. Think about that for a second. It's so true. When we argue for our limits, when we're the ones saying, oh, I could never do that, or I'm just not a math person, we're basically choosing to make those things true. But the moment we decide to challenge them, that's when we open the door to actual growth. So look, becoming limitless isn't about being perfect. It's not about never making a mistake. It's all about making progress. It's about stepping just a little bit beyond what you thought was possible for yourself yesterday. It's about identifying and then unlearning those false ideas that have been holding you back. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What is one limit, just one, LIE, that you've been telling yourself that you can decide to unlearn starting right now?